Awesome, guys. Thanks for hopping on. I appreciate you guys taking the time. I know that it's late and families and maybe you have things to do for the kids tomorrow, but it is important to invest the time in your business and to see our teammates and to kind of cheer each other on and be there for each other. Normally, I always have a few tips and takeaways for you guys, but I did that earlier and posted it in the team page. So just a few quick 4 things that have been on my mind as I've been talking to coaches on the team, both leaders and personally sponsored, of kind of some issues that have been coming up or common themes that coaches are struggling with. So make sure you go into the team page and listen to that. And if you have coaches under you, make sure you're tagging them in there so that they have those tools and tips in their tool belt to be able to take out and use when they're ready. But tonight I'm super excited to have Miss Missa Buller on our team call tonight. Missa is a coach on Meg's team with me, and she is just awesome. Her story is amazing, and she just inspires me because she never, I'm going to cry, Missa. She never gives up. She has been handed a dealt of cards that, not everyone would be able to handle, and she does, and she comes out on top, and she's funny, and she's a loyal friend, and she's always there to cheer us on, to pick us up when we need her. She's a 3-star lifetime diamond in her first business center, and she is diamond in her second business center. She's been a coach since 2011 and was able to retire from her corporate job in 2013 at the old age of 30. And she's also a Success Club 10 All-Star legend, which means that for 24 months, this girl has helped at least 5 people per month in her business. And, with the Team Cup, we got these highest personal Success Club points. And Miss Missa is a 50-point earner. That's her highest amount of points. And I just think that's amazing in 1 month to get 50 points. So I'm super excited to have her on the call. And she's just going to share a little bit about her journey and what she's been able to learn in her life and apply it to her business, and kind of, how the two really do go hand in hand with each other. So, Missa, I'm going to hand it over to you. I think I can find you. Unmute. All right, girl, all you.
Oh my gosh. So, you guys, I just have to say this quick. My rebound, because I'm going to tell you my story and just put it out there. My rebound wouldn't have been as enjoyable or gracious if it wasn't for your coach, Brittany. And I don't know if she knows that, but I try to tell her as much as I possibly can that she has helped me so much this past year get back on the horse. And she signed up after me. I seen her grow. I seen you guys grow. I seen her build this amazing team. And I really was running behind her, Brittany, can you help me? Can you share? And she shared so much with me, and she inspired me to just get back on the saddle. And so that's what I want to say to you, Brittany. So when Brittany asked me she asked me a few weeks ago to just, and she knows what I've been through in my business. I've been a coach since 2011. That's crazy when you think now. And if you're a new coach, there's coaches who sign up in 2 years, they're 15-star. And then, here I am, and I signed up, and I had these huge dreams for my business, and I still do, but it was different for me. My journey through this business was different. And no matter how bad I want it to be, on the national wake-up call, or I literally thought these things, I can be 15-star. I had things happen in my life, and I had to get over myself. And I really believe that the things that had to happen in my life, if they wouldn't have happened, I wouldn't be here. And it's weird because the things that happened kind of sucked, and I had to go through crap to learn things about myself. And, a lot of people, I'm not going to lie, quit. A lot of people, I have been a coach for 5 years. I started in 2011. I'm just going to jump into my story. And I'm just going to be quick with this, but I want you guys to know that when I signed up as a coach, I was a newlywed pretty much. My husband was in Iraq. My ex-husband was in Iraq. And while he was gone, I gained all this weight. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have to lose this weight. I had done Beachbody programs. I used to do the firm. I had lost over 100 pounds in my journey. My highest weight was 230 pounds. And I have always done in-home fitness. And my first programs were the firm. And to be honest, I sent my stuff in to them. I got picked and I was on this infomercial. And I don't talk about this that much because it's another company. But I want people to know that because I've always believed in in-home fitness. And I worked on their message boards. I don't know if anyone's a firm believer back in the day, if you use that fanny lifter or whatever. But that was me, like that was my workouts. And I would see Beachbody people on those message boards, and I started looking into Beachbody workouts, and I got into Beachbody. And I didn't know anything about coaching. And I just know I love Shalene. I did Turbo Jam. My ex-husband got me into Turbo Jam, got me into that. And I met my coach online after I had already bought programs and was doing the in-home workouts with Shalene. I did Shalene Extreme. I bought Insanity off TV. Like, I was the girl buying her Shakeology on eBay. Like, I didn't know about coaching. I didn't want to know about coaching. And I, finally somehow came across my coach on Facebook. And I was in a spot in my life where, like, I had already lost 100 pounds. Like, I knew what I had to do, but I just couldn't do it. I didn't have the support system. I didn't have the message boards like I did when I did it before with the firm. I didn't connect to Beachbody. And I'll bring this back around later to kind of tell you guys like how you need to connect to your team and like be a team player. But I realized that not having that community for me had me fall off track. And so when my ex-husband was in Iraq, I put on all this weight. I ended up getting Shalene Extreme. I lost like 24 inches. I started using Shakeology. I met my coach, Meg, online, and she's like, why are you buying Shakeology on eBay? And I was like, I don't know. It's like $5 cheaper. She's like, become a coach. So I was like, okay. Like, I was the easiest sign up, I think. And I wonder, like, why don't I get people like that? Like, I just don't. So that's what happened. I signed up as a coach. I had lost like 40 pounds. But during that time, like, my marriage sucked. Like, I was playing such a facade in my business. People were meeting my husband. My ex-husband, our divorce is like this past year. So if I keep saying that and correcting myself, it's still like kind of weird. But, I was infusing him into my Beachbody world, and people were getting to know him, and I was building my business, and I would be going places with him, and it became this big thing. Like, I started working my business, and I felt like everything I was putting up was kind of fake, because behind the scenes, my marriage was just not good. And I mean, if I'm speaking, I mean, I'm just very honest. So I'm going to put this out there, So for building my business, I tried to mimic these top coaches. I watched the Lindsay Matways, and I watched the Katie Hefners, and all these coaches like build these big businesses and do it really fast. And I got caught up in that, and I tried to be that perfect like coach, and I believed in it so much, and I still do. But I really believe that, if it wasn't Meg, like my coach, I had seen her go through so much diversity, through everything. I've seen her go through car accidents, fight health issues. And she always came out like top 10 when she was going through the hardest year, pregnant, 15-star. And I still look at her and I'm just like, you have so many things, like you're making so many excuses for yourself. Like I always was afraid to be successful, I think, in this business. And I say that now because I'm where I am, and I can look back and see that I tried to fake it till you make it. I mean, you might hear that, but I really think that bombed in my face. I tried to fake this whole being, and I wasn't happy in my marriage, and I wasn't happy. I was afraid to share myself. I didn't open up to my team. I didn't build relationships. I was focused on these numbers. And I just was like, I got to do this, to do this, to this. And it really built a toxic atmosphere, like within my business. My family life was already like that. So when everything came crashing down for me, I had one of my best years. I hit 3-star diamond. And then everything kind of came crashing down 6 months after that. I thought my business was on this upswing. And I was like, here we go. This is what everyone said. You know, you work hard, you do your thing. 3 years, things are going to pop off. So I was just waiting for like that. I knew but if I was really being honest with myself, I wasn't doing all the things I should have been doing. I was faking it till I make it, and I felt fake. I felt like I was putting this sham out there. I felt like I'm sticking myself in this marriage with this person that I'm unhappy with, and I'm just so like, what am I going to do? Like, am I going to be stuck because this is the business I'm building and this is what I'm attracting, these people who think I'm this person and I'm not, because I'm putting out there not my real self. I'm not being vulnerable. I'm not being me. So pretty much that led me to, last year I got to walk on stage with Brittany and all these coaches and Meg's team. And I was just like, but it was the same year, because Summit celebrates you. It's like a year later. And I didn't even know I was going to be recognized. And Meg's like, well, yeah, you hit this rank last year. But I had the worst year. And I was like, I'm really walking across the stage and celebrating this, because I knew my next year, I knew what was happening in that moment was not good. So you guys, January last year, this is after 3.5 years, 4 years of being a coach. Before I jumped too far ahead, I did retire myself from corporate America. I did all those things. My business was growing and I was so confident in it. And then I left my career and came home and started working as a full-time coach. And then my marriage fell apart and I was down to like my income, scared to death. Like, what the hell just happened? And I didn't know what I was going to do. And I want to tell you what happened at that moment. I had all 3 of my diamonds drop because one of them was going through the same exact thing as me. One of them was pregnant with a brand new baby, and this wasn't her first priority. And one of them left for another company. It works. And this was a coach that I was like so close with. So you guys, I went from like this year of like 3-star diamond, I'm going for elite next year, things are going to be awesome. I left my job, to I'm getting a divorce, all my diamonds dropped, and I have to support myself now with this. So that is where my story is coming from. I missed a lot in the middle there and in like the beginning stages, but I just wanted to kind of tell you like where I am and where I've come from and how many times I've said starting fresh doesn't mean starting over. So if you found yourself in a place where you feel like, I feel like I should just start over, like wipe the slate clean, and okay, like that's where I'm coming to you tonight to tell you that doesn't mean you're starting over. Starting fresh does not mean that you're starting over, because you have all this knowledge that you've learned from the mistakes, from the things that you had issues with. The things that I learned through this past year were hard. And I'm going to give you some tips of like what not to do if you're going through this. I didn't let my belief didn't waver in this company ever, because I had a personal story. I was a product of the product. I loved what it stood for. I loved the trainers. So my belief was never wavering. It was more that I wasn't doing personal development. I was in a sinkhole. I literally had not added new coaches to my team. I wasn't training my new coaches. I was at a point where I had this business that I thought was going to blow up for me, like blow up in my face. And I just was like, I shut myself out. I shut myself away from my team. I took myself out of opportunities. I stopped supporting my teammates. I shut out friendships because I was hurting. And I thought that I could run my business by myself. I thought I could do this alone. And that I had this mentality was like, I was so hurt that I didn't want anyone else to hurt me. But I was trying to build relationships with people like that. Like, I was trying to avoid all the people who were doing great and successful in my team. And I was trying to, like, attract successful coaches. Like, what kind of, like, that was just it was a mess. So I was bringing people into my team in the beginning of the year who I was just trying to, like, I need to rebuild this. I need to rebuild this. This is all I have. And I started putting myself back in this pattern of, I can do this by myself. I don't need to ask anyone for help. I know what I'm doing. I've done it before. I was very stubborn. And I was bringing people into my team, and it was a revolving door. 30 days, they were leaving. I was having this confidence issue again. I wasn't opening up to my team. And finally, I had to look in the mirror and say, you believe in this opportunity. You've done the work. You've left your career. You know this is an amazing opportunity that has provided you amazing things for your life. You were 30, and I for the past 2 years, I've been my own boss. Even though I'm telling you this horrible, like what I went through, I've still been able to get up every day and do my job here because of Beachbody. But I know, like, that anxiety-ridden feeling of, like, this is, like, what I have to do, and I don't know if this is going to work. But your belief underneath of it all, is what is literally going to push you. That brings me to my next whole thing about the why. As a new coach, we tell coaches, you have to have this strong why that makes you cry. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I never had a why that, like, brought me to tears, and my why changed all the time. But I always had one. I always had one. Maybe it wasn't like something that, like, that shook me to my core, but I was always showing up for something, and it was always changing. So if you feel like that too, I felt like, oh man, I don't have a why, and all these coaches are like, have this huge why, and that's why you have to be successful. But I knew I had one, and it always was. Each year it was different. I've been a coach 5 years. I went through some crazy shit. So my why kept changing. When I went through my divorce, my why changed like that. Like, oh, I have to support myself. Like, that is my why. And sometimes, your why could push you to do things that, my why was a financial why at that point. When I first, I panicked. And I started signing these coaches and just doing these behaviors that were not going to build a solid team. So finally, I let this guard down. I came to my team, and Brittany probably remembers this. I started posting. It was months I didn't post. We had a Diamond and Above group. I didn't engage. So, I mean, even if you're, like, on the sidelines and, or you feel like you kind of don't engage as much, I was the coach that kind of always watched on the sidelines. But I was running my business. I thought I knew what I was doing. But finally, when I opened up to my team and told them what I was going through, when I said to my team, you guys, like, I really want to rock this year, I started cheering them on. I started seeing coaches like Brittany come up. I saw, coaches blowing up, going viral on their web pages. And I started finally saying, congratulations, you guys. Like, that's amazing. I finally let myself open up to my team. And I said to myself again, I'm starting over. I'm starting fresh. But that doesn't mean it's going to be like starting over from the ground up. So this year, at the beginning of the year, things were kind of rocky still. I was still, opening up to my team and trying to engage and be a team player. I hope now, after a few months of me engaging and really sharing resources, seeing coaches come together and like pour out, this is something I'm doing and it's working great. I realize the more I start doing that in my team and sharing that and connecting with the coaches, a part of my team, the more success I was seeing. And I could have like shot myself in the foot, because from the very beginning, I was that coach who like, I can have my own team and I'm going to do everything myself and I don't need to have this and I don't need to have that. It took me 5 years, you guys, to realize that you need to be engaged with your team. Like, you need to be engaged with your diamonds and the ones who are doing well. And you need to, like, when someone does something great or awesome, like, support them. Because I learned, like, putting that into the universe started coming back to me. So that makes me want to talk to you guys about, what do you do when you have all these coaches and you feel like you're in this place and you sign these people and they're just kind of like, you didn't attract them like how you really are, and you have these people that are just kind of like you're not meshing with, or they're not active, and you feel like this isn't my dream team. What do you do at that point when you have to completely rebuild? What I did this past year, I don't know if you guys follow me, but I was very vulnerable on my page. I know you guys talk about breadcrumbing and sharing little bits of your story, and I think that's great. But if you follow me, I am known to put out the 8-paragraph posts. But people also come to my page and they're like, you have so many followers. You have so many people like your stuff or engage with you. And it's because I'll put out those vulnerable posts. I share my story. I share my journey. And it's not every day, but every other week I put out a lot of information. I've shared my journey about my divorce. I talked about my husband's infidelities. I connected with women who were going through the same thing. I went through, I feel like the people who went through it with me were the ones who were deciding to sign up in my challenge groups, were the ones who were deciding to join my team. The ones who saw me at my worst wanted to be with me at my best. And they're the ones who built me to be my best. And those are the ones that made me feel like I was going to be better, because they saw me at my worst. They connected with me at my worst. They see me still pushing in my workouts, but they also see me go through my struggles. And a few months later, they're signing up with me in my challenge group. Guys, I gained 30 pounds, I feel like, this past year. Like, I'm not my fittest. I'm not what I was when I first started. I don't have the abs or whatever. Like, I'm not where I was when I thought I should have been at my best. At my worst is when my business blossomed. But I had to be at my worst. I had to be there to be where I am. So that makes me, tell you guys, don't think that holding back from what you're going through, or hard stuff or icky stuff, is going to make you a bad coach. I know we're always like, put a positive spin on it. But the way you're going to relate to people is letting them know that you have been in it and you have come through it. And that is where the credibility lays. And that is what I've learned. If it wasn't for my team and being vulnerable, my personal development, daring greatly, you guys put it on your list. Being vulnerable, learning what it meant to build a relationship and not look at people as numbers, changed my business. I know in my own team, I used to focus on numbers and Success Club and all this stuff, and I still do, but it's about changing lives, and it's about, I'm sure Brittany does the same thing. If you turn into this machine and you're just looking at things as numbers, you lose your own authenticity. And people aren't going to relate. They're going to see right through it. And people saw right through me when I was when I was being fake in the beginning. Yes, I got 50-some points one month. It was my best month ever, my highest paycheck. I look back on it and I'm like, damn, I need to do that again. But I also look back and I was with my ex-husband. I was at my most unhappiest. I was working and avoiding him all hours. Like, our marriage sucked. And I was like, that's how I got 50 points in that month. And I'm not saying that's what has to be your situation. You could still rock it and have an awesome life and get 50 points. But I'm telling you, that was why, because I was in a really bad point. So you guys, I want to make sure I didn't miss anything, because I think I'm just going to start rambling in a minute. Be vulnerable. Yeah, I think I went over the whole support your upline. I have attracted people into my team who, had the same insecurities as me and the same issues as me, and I would realize that it was like leaking into the rest of my team. So my one last message is, you guys, you will attract who you are. And I didn't believe that at first. But over this past year and seeing how everything has changed for me and being vulnerable and sharing the worst of the worst, and just being myself, I started realizing I was attracting people like me versus the fake stuff that I had before. And this year, I haven't seen revolving doors the past, few months. Everyone who's been coming on has been so genuine, and so they relate to me. So if you feel like your business is like fake or icky, or ask yourself, are you really putting yourself out there? Are you really sharing what is going on in your life? Are you really talking about the hard stuff? I went public this year after 4 years. Yeah. What does Brittany tell you your first week? Go public. 4 years, I didn't go public. My business has changed a lot since I went public. And I'm meeting so many more people. And I swear, I'm sure it all kind of bubbles together with what I've been going through and who I've been attracting. But guys, the reason we tell you some of these things, the personal development, the going public, being a product of the product, having a belief system, having a why, even if it changes every year, as long as you have a why and you believe. I hope these little nuggets came through tonight, Brittany. But that is really what I got. I mean, I don't think, unless you guys have anything else that you want to ask.
No, I think that was great. And I feel like at the end, I just kept oh, I like that. Oh, I like that. Oh, I like that. So I'll just do a real quick recap. And then if you guys have questions, we can open it up and Missa can kind of answer. Or if you guys, just want to share something or, whatever, we can open it up for that. But I think a huge thing that Missa touched on is your why. And you guys have heard me talk about that, but you've also heard me talk about how my why has changed in the last 3 years. And so your why is going to change. It might not be like Missa said, when I first started, my why did not make me go to my knees and cry. It didn't make me this has to happen. Now, with kids and our lifestyle and the conversations that Matt and I have had and the opportunity that I know it's at hand, and Missa probably feels the same way. Now that this opportunity is tangible and you're it's at your fingertips, why changes, and you're I can totally make this happen. I can totally match Matthew's income to make sure that he doesn't have to decide on work or Valentine's Day 3-year-old party. He can make that decision, especially with baby 3 on the way, that when this baby goes to school, Matt can be here for everything. So your why is going to change, and that's okay. But, and there might be some years where your why is just, to do, I don't know, it might be something that doesn't get you all teary-eyed, but it might be something that drives you, and that's okay. And I think the next thing that she said was to connect and to share. And I talked about that in that video today. Don't pull yourself out from people, like let people in and let people connect and share where your struggles are and share where your life is. And I don't look at Missa as another coach on my team. I look at her as a friend, and I want to know when she's struggling because I want to be able to be there for her and to know, you know, where's Missa? Why isn't she posting, or why isn't she doing this? Instead of having those questions, I have other questions of, I hope she's doing okay today. I hope things are going well. What can I do for Missa today? Or how can I pray for Missa today? And that's what I want you guys to do as this team, because, you know, Missa, you can probably agree, but I think that's what our group of girls have been for each other.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Oh my gosh. I realized what I was keeping myself out of, and I was going through it, you guys, but I realized what I was missing. I saw so many team retreats. There must have been 2 or 3 that I just was like, and it wasn't because, you know, it was me, and it was my insecurities that I was pulling myself away. So when I fully just jumped back in, you guys do come looking for me. Like, seriously, people text me. They're like, where are you? Like, you've been, like, or if they see that I'm having good posts, like one of our coaches, Manny, messaged me. She's like, you know what, your posts have really been rocking lately. And I'm like, you just made my day. Like, when you are like that with your team, it means so much. But I realized that I was keeping myself away from that. And Brittany could probably even say, she could probably tell, even in Cancun, when I had the opportunity to be around my team, I kind of backed away, and I closed myself off to things. And I regret doing that. But when I did come back to my team, it was coaches like you, Brittany, and Leanne. Like, we have such amazing leaders, a part of Team Fit Addicted, that just were sharing with me and helped me rebuild this year. So, you know, as long as you guys feel comfortable with someone on this team that you can share with and be vulnerable with, it doesn't have to be a success partner. But I'll tell you what, my team now, they feel so comfortable that they come into my team and they're like, guys, I'm just going through it. And it's because they know I'll just be like, oh man, like I'll put it on my page. I'll be like, I'm going through it right now. And I let everybody know, but it makes my team feel comfortable that they can come into our team and say, this sucks right now. And we're all like, girl, we're praying for you. We're in your, like, we can give, like, you know, different thoughts and help. So it wasn't until this year that my team started having that. So if you guys have that in your team, embrace it and be so happy about it. And that's what I get it. I understand how teams grow so strong when you have that type of, you know, atmosphere. It just took me so long to learn.
And then I love number 3. I wrote down, like, rebuilding or starting fresh doesn't mean starting completely over. So, you know, I've had a few of you say, like, I didn't hit successful last month, or I don't have people to talk to this month, or I feel like I'm starting over with my rank or whatever. You have tools, you have the basics down. Now you just need to get back into it, and kind of what Missa said is to have that belief in yourself and belief in the business that you have what it takes and you can do it. And going into that, like doing that vulnerable post, you know, I had someone ask me in our Emerald to Push group last week. They were like, well, I posted my story when I first came out as a coach, and that was like a month ago. Okay, we'll post it again, and then post it again, and post it again. Because every single time you write that story out, you're going to share something that someone that you didn't share before, or that someone's reading now who you weren't friends with a month ago, or they're not, like, just because you post it once doesn't mean everyone saw it. And every time you write, you get better at sharing your story. You remember different pieces of your story, and people connect with that story. And that's what, you know, I think Missa went through with her divorce, and sharing that, where people could connect with her on an emotional level. And it wasn't like thinking that there was this picture perfect person behind the camera or behind the screen. It was this person, part of me, Missa, that was a mess because they were going through a divorce because their life had just completely fallen apart. And for someone reading that, they can go, oh my God, she can understand what I'm going through. Like, that's huge. I know that when I share about my eating disorder and like my body image issues, I get such an amazing response because so many people can relate. It's hard to write. It's hard to put out there. And when I share this pregnancy and how this baby came to be when I'm ready to do that, people are going to relate. And when I shared that with you guys, I had people message me like, thanks for sharing that. I felt selfish for not wanting to have kids, but you made me realize I'm not alone. So being vulnerable in the content that you're comfortable with is so important for you. Not just as to get people to sign up, but to grow as a person and to grow as a coach. And to share that every other week because you're going to share it in a different wording, you're going to share a different length, you're going to go long, you're going to go short, you're going to have a picture, you're not. Like, it's going to be different than it was a week before or 2 weeks ago. So it's always going to be different. But being real and not trying to, hide behind, like Missa said, like there are some moments where, you need to, like, if you're just not motivated because you're having like a busy week, that's different. But we're talking about when you're trying to hide a pregnancy from people, like trying to do your best, or when you're trying to go through this divorce, like just be real and be what's going on.
Something I learned from you, Brittany, was you would send me pictures and you would say, I'm going to post this next week when I'm like busy, or I'm going to buffer it out. Like, and I started picking up on like, you know what? It's not always picture perfect what's going on in her life in that minute. She has plans of like, she'll take pictures to put. So the other day I had makeup on, you guys, and I was like, snap, snap, snap. Like I was like taking pictures.
Change your shirt.
I'm going to use this all week because you know what? Some days I am not like in the mood to be like, hey, but it's nice to have that. I learned that from you, Brittany, too, because there's always going to be those days where you want to share your heart and be vulnerable and you're not happy-go-lucky. But when you're putting a picture up a couple hours later, at least you got makeup on. Hey, you really don't. You know what I mean?
So true.
Yeah.
True. The last one is Daring Greatly. I just wanted to make sure that people heard that book. Mm-hmm. Alyssa Anderson, who's a coach on our team, actually just posted that in our team page, and she was like, "Oh, I was at the airport. Is this good? I think it was in the team page or something." And she was like, "Is this good?" And everyone was like, "I've heard amazing. I have not read it. I've heard amazing things about it." So the fact that was the one book that you referenced to kind of go out and purchase and to read, I hope some of you that can kind of relate to Missa's story, or maybe pieces of it, or just struggling where you're at, like that might be, something, a good book for you to go get. And if you need a faith component to go with that, Daring Faith is a devotional that I'm doing on YouVersion right now. That's 7 days. Matthew actually recommended it, and it's just a short little video and a short little devotion, but kind of go along with like just having that bold faith and daring greatly. Then the fifth thing is that I love that you said, like, people are not numbers. And I know that we focus a lot on Success Club and rank advancement and enrolling people, but we're all in this business to help people. So if helping someone means having them purchase a base kit versus a Success Club challenge pack, then so be it. Because I would rather have you sell and help 10 people with base kits than 0 people with challenge packs.
Amen.
And so every person needs to be like, how can I help this person? And that's, getting on a technical right now, that's where you need to know what we offer as Beachbody, because it's more than just challenge packs. If someone's struggling with energy, Focused Energy is a great boost. If they're struggling getting their vegetables in, but they can't afford Shakeology, maybe Power Greens boost is something to get them started with. If they're having digestive issues, digestive health boost. So knowing our products and pairing our products to people, not our people to products. We don't want people to, like Missa said, like they were seeing right through her because she was just trying to get successful points. She was just trying to make that number. And now it's, how can I help this person? Like, do I run a free group without confidence? Like, is that struggling? Or do I, what do I do to help my followers right now that's what they need? And I know a few people on this can struggle with that sometimes and get caught up in the number. And I'm very much a numbers person. Like, I am Success Club driven. But I also have to remind myself, and I trust that God's going to help me get to that goal if I keep my priorities right. And my priorities are to help people and to honor my business hours, to honor my time, and to make sure that people don't go, that girl is so salesy, it's so icky, like, go away. Because then they're never going to come back to me.
There's a really great video, Brittany, you should share with your team, from Caleb Thomas. That is a faith-based face. I'll send it to you, and then you should share it with
I saw it today. I was on his YouTube channel.
Did you watch it?
I didn't watch it. I just saw it.
If you see what it reads, it could really like get people fired up. But I think he did that on purpose, like to get people fired up. But it really is. I know you guys are a faith-based team, and my team's the same way. So sharing it with them, they were like, "Yeah!" Like it seems kind of scary, but it's a good video. And I got a good response from my team from it. So. They love Caleb.
He's hilarious. He's hilarious. If you guys need like short, funny videos, if you guys want to do work but you want to laugh, like just YouTube Caleb Thomas because his videos are hilarious and they're so helpful.
Yes, so helpful. And his dog is super.
And then my last two big takeaways were number 6 was you attract who you are, and I think that's so true because. You know, I'm going to toot our own team horn here for a second, but I was talking to a coach today on the phone, and she was like, you know, I was going through a few coaches on who I wanted to sign up with, and I just felt drawn to you. And she's like, and I know without a doubt today that you are where I'm supposed to be because our team is just, she's like, it's so open, and then we can talk about faith, and we can talk about this, and we can talk about that. And, you know, like, if someone joins my team, they are going to know that they're going to hear Jesus. They're going to hear verses. I'm going to talk about prayer. And I'm going to talk about my faith because I talk about that on my page. And I'm attracting those people, whether they're fully in it and they're living that way, or they're interested and they're learning and they're just not sure, but they're inspired by how I'm loving on people. You know, that's who you start to attract. So who are you bringing? You know, and Missa's done both. She's attracted Missa when Missa was just trying to get numbers and trying to like make things work. And now she's attracting people that just have heart and passion and just love. And, you know, if she wants to share on that, like, I think there's a huge difference in her team unity and the culture of her team just in the last few months because of that.
Oh my gosh, yes. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Before my team was, like I said, a revolving door, catty, not supportive of each other. And I'm like, well, why is it like this? Well, when you distance yourself from your own team and you don't support who you come from, like your upline's team, and you think you can do it all yourself, you're going to attract people that have that attitude too. And it's not a bad thing to be confident and to want to, you know, be that and be self-sufficient, but you have, like John Maxwell says, you are not going to be a success, like your team is not going to be successful with just you. Like you are your team. Like they're not going to follow you unless you inspire them and motivate them and pour into them. And I wasn't doing that. I was attracting empty souls is what I felt like I had. And I'm not trying to speak badly on anyone that I was attracting, but I just seen, you know, what it was. And then I realized once I started being more myself and just putting out the good, the bad, the ugly, I was getting people that had heart and soul. And yeah, my team has turned around. And I was scared to say it because like I said, I've been a coach 5 years. I've had those moments where I'm like, I'm starting over, you know, like I have to build all these diamonds again, or I have to do this all over again. But when I look at my team now, there's no question. I don't look at them like, oh, I have to build all these people up. I'm like, they're going to do it because they love this. Mm-hmm. They believe in it like I do. They believe in hard work because they've seen me. They've seen what I've gone through. They've seen that I haven't given up. And I think what people see out there and they're afraid to join people is that the people who give up, the people who are into the next product or into the next multi-level marketing company, those people in my eyes lose 100% credibility when they go to a different company. And that's my own personal opinion. But I've had coaches leave and go to different companies and they just don't do well. I've had coaches this year. I've had more coaches come back onto my team than I've ever had re-sign with me because they say it feels different. Mm-hmm. I can tell you're in this different place. Like, I want to be a part of the new you. Mm-hmm. And I'm just like, whoa, weird.
You know, they said something at a new leadership conference that I think is kind of tying into this, but how you hook them is how you have to keep them. And if you hook them on cheap and easy and faking it, then your life has to be perfect all the time. And you have to set that bar and live up to that bar. And if you are setting the bar, you're hooking them with a financial gain or a promised fit body or something, you have to keep them with that. Like, that's the only way they're going to stay. But if you hook them with confidence and community and growth and personal like development and like team unity and helping others, then that's how you have to keep them. And naturally, like, I mean, please tell me if I'm wrong, but I feel like that's how our culture is. I feel like that's how our team culture is. And so if you're hooking people with the wrong things, you have to keep them with things that aren't true to you. And that's going to be and I'm talking challengers and coaches. I'm not talking just teams. I'm talking challengers, because you have to work with these people sometimes longer than you have to work with coaches.
And that's exhausting.
Mm-hmm. Like if you're like, I always say this to you guys, like, I love to be able to look on this Zoom call and not look at one face and say I would not want to have coffee with them. And that's the entire downline, because our entire downline has the same values, the same community, the same reasons for being here and wanting it. So I think when you're posting and when you're inviting and when you're connecting and when you're building your team and building your brand, I think those are things to think about. So how you're sharing your story and what you're sharing about your story consistently needs to be what you're going to be able to keep people with long term. And I think Miss is going to have so much more success in her business because she's kind of figured that out, that she can hook them on a real, authentic struggle. She's going to be able to stay there for her and love on her and be there for her because, like she said, they've seen her at her worst. They've seen her at her best.
It feels different. It feels different. And I can honestly say that, you know, the excitement is back because I feel like, oh my gosh, this is my real shot. Like who I am. I put a post up on my page this morning, and it's been over a year now since everything happened. And I'm finally feeling like myself and that I can be who I want to be. And I got so much love on that post, and it just made me feel like, you know what, this is who you are now. Like, you're going to attract these people because for the past year, now this took time, you guys, like for the past year, I've been putting my story out there, my challenges and all of that. So I'm not saying it's going to happen overnight. I mean, if you're in a rut right now with your team or you feel like you're not going to get there, put the blinders on, but don't shut your team out and just focus on putting you out there, your journey, honest, raw, and real.
That's so true. I'm just looking at your page.
Oh, I did a live video today, you guys. Like, if you guys gone live,
I saw it. I haven't done that yet.
If you go, I went live today and just shared a bit of my story, and I had people messaging me in my inbox saying, like, I went through what you went through. My ex-husband slept with my best friend, and I'm just like, oh my God, like, you don't expect to get messages like that, but I connected with her this morning, and I was like, oh my gosh, wow. Like, so that's because I put my story, I put my mess. Turn your mess into your message.
Amen, sister.
Yeah. Your mess is your message.
Your tests are your testimony.
Yeah. I love it.
And going off of that, like the last thing, at her worst, her business bloomed. At her worst, her business bloomed. And I think that's huge because you don't have to be perfect to make this business work. And I guarantee you that if you were to get on a real call with Lindsay Matway and Melanie Mitchell and Amy Silverman, that there's going to be a mess somewhere in their coaching journey that they just wanted to quit, but they didn't, and they did things that we just talked about tonight. And I'm sure that they've shared that if you follow them, closely enough. I personally don't follow a ton of people all the time, but I'm sure like you're going to hear those stories because everybody's going to go through this, and you're going to be at your worst at some point. And there's going to be a big change. And, my big change right now is this pregnancy. And I remember thinking like, I shared with you guys, like, I did not want to have any more kids because it was going to ruin my business. Like, it was going to put a huge bump in the road for what I had planned for my life and for what I had planned for Matt and I. And God just says, you think you have it all figured out, but you don't. And now I'm just going through this, and I'm going to share my story and share my feelings and share that. And it's going to be tough and it's going to be vulnerable. And it's not necessarily my worst per se, but it's the hardest change and hardest shift that I've had in my business since I became a coach. And so this is going to be hard for me in my journey where I'm at. So you might be going through something. Maybe it's not a divorce. Maybe it's not a pregnancy. Maybe it's something else that you're just trying to kind of work through. But use coaching for that. You don't have to air your dirty laundry out there. You don't have to share if you're not comfortable or your family's not comfortable yet. But you can connect with the team and you can be real and you can share, that things aren't perfect in life right now, but you're thankful for the things that are going right and the people in your life that are helping you stay focused on what's going right. So, does anyone have any questions or anything? Or, Missa, do you have any last remarks before we wrap up?
No, but I just want to thank you guys, and I hope I didn't ramble too much. And I love that you kind of did a review, Brittany, because I feel like, wow, yeah, she did catch a good one there. Great.
I loved it. I thought it was extremely helpful because I think we hear so many trainings on the technical part of how to post and what to post and this and that, but I think sometimes
it's always going to be about heart.
We always, we need to remember that why and the balance and that we matter and we need to kind of put ourselves first. But how do we do that and build a business at the same time?
Behind every power of 3 and every power hour is your heart. And that's what's going to keep you going. So
totally true. Well, thank you everyone for hopping on. I appreciate it. And huge thank you to Missa for staying up late. And I hope you can function tomorrow for your day. But thanks everybody. I appreciate it. It was good to see your faces. And I will talk to you guys later. Bye guys.